The state of Manipur has a distinct socio-cultural heritage. Manipur has played a significant role in the century-long freedom struggle of India. In 1857, at the time of India's first war of independence, Manipur was ruled by Maharaja Chandrakriti Singh. A Manipuri prince, Narendrajit Singh, led the revolutionaries of the 34th Native Infantry against the British. He was captured and transported to the Andamans. In 1890, during the time of Maharaja Suryachandra, his half-brothers, led by Tikendrajit Singh, revolted. The Maharaja fled to Calcutta to seek help of the British. The British wanted to take control of the state's affair. Tikendrajit decided to fight. Quinton, the Chief Commissioner of Assam, was sent to Imphal to capture Tikendrajit. The Chief Commissioner reported that the Senapati was not only competent but also very popular with the natives of India. When all the attempts to capture the leader failed, the British army attacked the residence of Tikendrajit at night. Maharaja Kulachandra took up arms and defeated the British army. 5 British officers, including Quinton and Grimmer, the political agent in Manipur, were tried and executed. April 20th, 1891, British sent 3 heavily armed columns to attack Manipur from 3 directions. The decisive battle was fought at Khongzhom. Ultimately, the Manipuris were defeated. The date of Major General Pauna Brajavasi and other patriots marked the end of the independence of Manipur. On April 27, 1891, Manipur came under the British paramountcy. Many freedom-loving Manipuris were deported and sentenced to death. Maharaja Kulachandra was banished. Veer Tikendrajit and Thangal General were hanged on August 13, 1891 at the polo ground before the general public. The once proud civilization lay in ruins. The deep-rooted hatred of the British led to fresh uprisings. 1904 was the year of the first Mapilan, or Women's War. Manipuri women rose up against the British. The state bungalows occupied by British officers were set ablaze. Maxwell, the political agent, issued orders to rebuild the bungalows by forced labors. Irungbam Samujaubi, Chaubi and Leno led demonstrations against the political agent. 6 Manipuri Rajkumars were banished. Towards the end of 1913, there was a widespread agitation against the system of Pothang or compulsory labor. The administration almost came to a standstill, and attempts at conciliation were in vain, and finally Pothang was abolished. During the First World War, the British sent over 1 million of Indian soldiers to fight for their empire in Gallipoli, France, and Mesopotamia. In Manipur too, the British adopted the policy of forcible conscription to send a double company to Mesopotamia and labor corps to France. The people of Manipur revolted against the policy. The Kuki chiefs unanimously decided not to send their sons to France. It led to the Kuki rebellion of 1917 to 1919.
So now, the bonds and the iron lung. Two like that British Taylor, Germany take us out of in, the Almonds of France. It's the Ganonin, Zaza Panzong, British Taylor Satnadian, two in the Darwin, two Tinkula Malzai Long Tani. He's asking about Dunia Paragas at the Katita.
In the turbulent encounter with the British, Ngulbung, the chief of lawyer, was killed. 10 other chiefs were detained in Tezpur jail. Rani Gaideliu, the legendary freedom fighter of the northeastern India, speaks about the Kabui movement.
Tao phải na tao mi er wang tao mo ni are sa thang phu jang rồi phải na này là sa thoi na
Jadunam, a Kabui Naga of Manipur, is the father of the Kabui rebellion of 1927. Inspired by Gandhian thought, he advised the people not to pay taxes. British sent armed contingents to suppress the movement. Jadunam continued on the fight for 2 long years. Jadunam was arrested and hanged on August 29, 1931. The execution of Jadunam did not succeed in suppressing the Kabui rebellion. The young Gaideliu took up the leadership and guided the rebellion with a new vigor. She was arrested in 1932 and sentenced to transportation for waging a war against the British Raj. In 1937, Jawaharlal Nehru paid a rich tribute to Rani Gaideliu and wrote, 6 years ago, when civil disobedience blazed over the length and breadth of India, she raised a banner of independence and called her people to rally around it. Nehru made every effort to seek her release. She remained in jail for 17 long years and was released only after independence. The Nikhil Hindu Manipuri Mahasabha, a non-political organization, was formed in 1934 with Maharaja Churasan Singh as its president. In 1938, when the Mahasabha met under the chairmanship of Hizam Irawat Singh, the Mahasabha passed political resolutions, including the demand for the constitutional reforms by setting up a legislative council. The name of the organization was changed to Nikhil Manipuri Mahasabha. Hizam Irawat Singh resigned his government job of Panchayat membership, and others followed him in giving up government jobs. He plunged into the Swadeshi and non-cooperation movement. He led the Nupi Lal of 1940. He was arrested and imprisoned in the Sylhet jail. Yet the Nikhil Manipuri Mahasabha continued its movement against the British. An artificial famine was created by the excessive export of rice in 1939, and the people of Manipur suffered in the land of plenty. Manipuri women rose up against the rulers for the second time after the first Nupi Lal of 1904. The women demonstrators demanded immediate ban of export and milling of rice. Hundreds of women from far-flung areas of Manipur joined the fight. They also demanded for a responsible government in the state. The women boycotted the main market, Khwairaman Bazaar, for more than 1 year. To disperse the agitators, the army and the police were called in. Manipuri women didn't give up and faced the British bayonets. Many of them were imprisoned. The said event was immediately brought to the knowledge of Mahatma Gandhi. Rajkumari Sanatombi, one of the leading leaders of the second Nupi Lal, speaks of the agitation at the Darbar. Laisom Lebagley, another living leader, speaks about the spirit of the movement against the administration. Ayekpam Rajani, another leader, narrates how the forceful decision to drive out the British was taken. Other prominent leaders were Sabi, Tongo, Kongnang, Leimaton, Mukhi, Amubi, and Kumari. In 1942, when Gandhiji gave the call of do or die, war clouds were gathering over Manipur. In 1943, Subhash Chandra Bose asked the Indians to join the Indian National Army and fight against the British. His appeal received a widespread welcome from the people of Manipur. Many Manipuris volunteered and joined the INA.
Aikoina lenguni thungbaga Netajina aikoi taruk asi puraga achau phillamaga Lami Nipagi, Lami Lishimari Manga, Rani Lesmi Captain, Lanjuma Nupi
Porsangam Tomal Singh, a volunteer of the first batch, says that Netaji was happy to receive the Manipuris at Rangoon.
I give me Naki Ahmad Chaudhuri Kawe. I am the British Army da Yaubani. British na Japan ka.
Captain Naki Ahmad Chaudhuri says that he left the British Indian Army and joined the INA to liberate India.
Japan ki Makuta British tour unconditionally surrender to 16 February 1942 da surrender.
Ayasi Rangoon da Jhansi Rani da yawi. Rangoon ki
Kanya Devi, a soldier of the Jhansi Rani regiment, speaks of the training she received in the INA.
Netaji na karne malik ke thoda ki na karne malik na mayang haj ko na chindi bai ma ke chingre ni pinan ki ma ke chindi rei mande ki phara na Rangoon gi taya gong da Jhansi Rani da yaw na ek nal po phangi sagon tong tami ek tawri puna maloin tami.
In the beginning of 1944, the headquarters of the INA operations in Manipur and Naga Hills established at Moirang in Manipur.
Indo-Japan Lanmina, Indo-Burma border Hogil Lakuna, Manipur gi Mapam Lokshilava.
Mairembam Koireng, another member of the INA, says that for the first time, Free India's tricolor flag was hoisted at Moirang Kangla.
Colonel S.A. Malik na Azad Hind gi Fauj ga loinana, amati Japan gi Fauj ga loinana, Indian national flag Machu Ahum gi Pheran, Moirang gi Kangla da Yungki.
After the end of the war, while negotiations for transfer of power to India were started, a convention of different political parties of Manipur was held on the 4th October 1946 at the Aryan Theatre at Imphal, and the Manipur State Congress was formed with Rajkumar Bhuvan Singh as its first president. India became free on the 15th August 1947, and the Manipuris joined the celebrations. In the words of a poet, "Still your dear land, ever choosing honor and freedom."